We have a tired America, man. They're running on the edge, and any day of rest sounds good to me. And if you could have a national day of rest every Sunday, forced by law where nobody could make you work, you know what? I could almost use a day of rest. But the religious implications are quite different. So, therefore, some of the things that have been going around everywhere have kind of riled up some of our leaders because they say they can't be proven. You shouldn't be talking about it. No, excuse me. We've been watching Uranus now. It's time to find Neptune. Now, the Spirit of Prophecy says very clearly that these things will happen outside of the public eye. And it will be through pressure, not the government passing on us insisting that the government pass a law. And so here we have all our religious leaders and the Roman Catholics together insisting on the government doing these things for our own moral good, and primarily because natural disasters are about to come and God's judgments are about to come. Are God's judgments about to come on the earth? They're absolutely right, aren't they? But does the devil know this? Do you think he's not telling his people? Oh, yes, he is. Is the Pope right when he says judgments of God are about to fall on our nation? Oh, absolutely, he's right. So he's preparing for it. How do you prepare for it? Let's have a national day of rest. We know that. It's already been told us. We don't even have to look at the headlines or imagine what's happening. We already know what's happening. There is secret meetings. We don't know when and we don't know where. There is plans. We don't know exactly what. We do know there's pressure. In fact, in the last, why don't you get the April 10 Review and Herald? Look at the editorial by editor Bill Knott. You can read it. I did not feel comfortable with the tone of his letter. You can tell he's very, very much on the defensive. In fact, he's a little insulting. I like Bill. I've been in several meetings with him. But I think something is wrong with that article. It's not a nice editorial at all. But he does say something correct. He does say, it is clear to all of us, there can be no doubt that this Pope is pressing for a national Sunday law and supports the use of civil government to enforce it. In fact, he may appeal for the same to the U.S. leadership. Now, if there can be no doubt that this Pope supports it, and he will probably appeal, he met with the President in private, he met with Congress, we heard that met with congressmen and senators, he met with all the religious leaders, and he met with Jewish leaders as well while he was here. Now, he has an agenda. That agenda includes a national day of worship. Now, I appealed in my email for prayer. That's all I said. We can't prove anything that's happening. All we know is we know what's happening. It's time to pray 2 days of prayer and 1 day of fasting. Many Adventists wrote to me and said, I don't think anything is happening that merits having prayer. Nothing of this means anything. Didn't you read the General Conference article that nothing is happening? No, I said that's not what the article said. The article said we can't prove what is happening. They didn't say nothing is happening. They just can't say that it is happening. They have no way. But in that editorial, you'll find it's not a very pleasant one. I think it's probably going to mark a day in history about one of the most aggressive editorials ever written. I don't know. But I'm sure they'll get feedback on that one too. But in any case, Adventists are waking up. Adventists are waking up and they're asking questions. And it doesn't make everybody comfortable when you ask questions and questions and questions and questions. Hundreds of phone calls came into the General Conference because of it. This is a difficult situation for our leaders. They're not in a position to tell you something is happening. But on the other hand, Adventists can tell that something is happening and they want answers. And our leadership doesn't know how to prove what's happening because it's beyond their scope of being able to confirm. So it's a quandary, right? Our leaders want to be the sentinels on the wall, but they have nothing to sentinel about yet.
They never can be the sentinels on the wall.
Well, they're supposed to be. Well, actually they could if they... I believe that you and I can be sentinels on the wall, and if we can, they can. So it's not theoretically impossible, but if you want to wait to prove everything, it'll be too late. Because in the letter I'm just sending out this evening, this morning it went out, yesterday I sent it to Australia, and right now it happens to be 3 o'clock in the morning in Australia. But this morning when I was leaving to fly here, I talked to Australia, to our webmaster, and she was Sunday morning, and she was getting ready to send out the email to everybody. So it's already out, but it specifically says in there, we expect our sentinels on the wall not to sound the alarm, or they should sound the alarm At the first hint of danger, not when the enemy is trying to penetrate the gates. It's too late to sound the trumpet if the enemy is already at the walls. What if we're told someday, Sunday day of worship has been submitted to Congress for a vote, or it got through already? It's too late to sound the alarm. The alarm has to be sounded earlier, like the Pope is coming with an agenda. Everybody get ready and pray, because something is about to happen, right? We don't know what's going to happen, but alert. The first hint of danger. We see smoke on the horizon. We can't see the enemy, but something is about to happen out there, right? And once it comes across the horizon and you see there's 1 million soldiers coming over the wall, at least your people already are bringing in their crops and the cattle into Jerusalem. So anyway, this is a difficult situation. Pray for your leadership, please. They're trying to be balanced and responsible, but at the same time, if you don't say something, you're being irresponsible. You understand? They're caught between a rock and a hard place. But so what? I don't mean so what, but you know what else? You are too. You are caught with some hard decisions just like they are. Nobody's going to get out of this scot-free. You have some hard decisions to make. Now, I believe that the Sunday law will be passed probably right before the ruin of our nation. That means it may get passed and get included in the bill and into Congress and approved just for political reasons because so many people want it. Can you imagine a U.S. congressman looking at all the Christian leadership and saying, absolutely not? That'll never happen. If all of the pastors, leadership of the big churches and the Catholics come together and say, this is what we want for our nation, for the safety of our nation, I don't think there's a single senator or representative that would say no. If you say no, it will be blabbed to every single church. Don't elect him again or her again, right? So, we don't have the ability to say no to that, so it will probably be passed. It could happen this year. In fact, it probably will happen this year, but don't say that. I can't say that it's going to. You know why I think it's probably going to be this year? Because President Bush, he said it on public TV just last week. He looked into the eyes of the Pope and he said, I saw God. You heard that, some of you. If God asks you to do something, everything the Pope asks Bush, he gives it to him. Everything. And if there's a Sunday law, a national day of worship, on the books, do you think the president will sign it? Absolutely. Our U.S. president will sign anything that Rome wants.
Especially before going out of office.
And they want to do it before he leaves office because we don't know who the next president is going to be. And they don't want to take any chances. So there's a high probability that it will be this year. Do I know it's going to be that way? Don't say that I said so. I don't know anything. I'm not God. But I can read the signs of the times. And the signs of the times say that it's highly probable. Now, if God answers our prayer for more time, it may not happen. And I will rejoice. And if it gets pushed off another year, I'll be greatly encouraged. It's going to happen sometime soon. But God's angels are holding, and they're holding, and they're holding. Now we've talked about the spiritual side. Let's talk about what has to happen.